in today's video lecture, we're going to talk about dictionary comprehension, and I'm not really sure how many, but I think this concept is going to require a lot more videos, because if I try to finish it in one video lecture, it's not going to make sense. I received a lot of requests on this topic, and I can understand. I mean, like, it is a little confusing topic. Students find it very complex. But let's see. So there are actually a lot of things, like we have list comprehension, right? So we are going to talk about dictionary comprehension because that's what was requested. So first of all, you need to understand the idea of comprehension. Okay, when we say comprehension, it means that what is the meaning of comprehension? Like trying to comprehend something, right? So when you're talking about dictionary comprehension, the concept is actually overall, the concept of comprehension is actually used to create a sequence meaning dictionary or list, etc. So we are trying to create a sequence with a short method. Okay, usually when you create a dictionary, it is a short method, but then when you use dictionary comprehension, it will provide you a very simple method, okay, using which you can create a dictionary where you have to use a lot of lines, a lot of code lines. Dictionary comprehension will replace those scenarios, and you can just use one line and deal with it. So yeah, so you can say that dictionary comprehension is basically, it provides you a short construct for the sequence, okay, and the main idea is to always keep the code simple, right? So let me start with the syntax for dictionary comprehension. Okay, so suppose you want to create a dictionary using dictionary comprehension. First you need to have a variable. So this is your variable, right? And then here, after equal to, we are going to use this sign, curly brackets. Now in a dictionary we have keys and values. So if you want to remember the syntax for dictionary comprehension, you need to remember that first thing first. So here you are going to put key and value, okay, and then after this comes for some variable v in certain range. Okay, this is the syntax for dictionary comprehension. So this is the name of the dictionary. So it can be anything. I'm taking verdict, and then inside this curly bracket we are using dictionary comprehension. So how it works is key and value, and then you have a for loop. Now obviously when you have a for loop, you will have a variable and you are iterating this variable, you are looping it over a range, right? So key value and then for v in range, v in given range. Okay, now this is the simplest syntax for dictionary comprehension. You can change it, you can modify it, you can add more conditions to it, you can use if else inside, you can combine it with many other constructs, right? So in this specific video lecture, I'm going to show you an example with the help of for loop, and I'm gonna use zip, right? Zip method. And we actually talked about zip method in previous video lecture, right? So there are different ways to work with dictionary comprehension. That's why I said that I don't know how many videos it's gonna take, but let's see. And I hope you will be able to understand the concept. So first thing first, just remember the syntax for dictionary comprehension, okay, for this video lecture. Now if that is clear, we will take an example, okay, how you can use dictionary comprehension. You can obviously use a dictionary comprehension to create like the simple dictionary, right? So usually when you create a dictionary, this is how what we do. So let's suppose you have a dictionary A. You will create a dictionary. There will be some keys and some values. So let's say this is 1 1 2 4 3 9. So usually dictionary comprehension is useful when you want to create a dictionary where key value pair is having some sort of relationship. For example, here 1 is the key, and then 1 raised to power 2 is 1, so that's the value. 2 is the key, and then 2 raised to power 2 is 4, so that's the value. 3 is the key, and then 3 raised to power 2 is 9, right? So these type of constructs, right, these type of sequences. And also this is also because when you try to fill these type of dictionaries with the help of a loop, because this is just a dictionary, I created it, right? But when you actually need to create a dictionary, if you have like a code, so usually in exams you will be asked to fill in a dictionary. You will need to create a dictionary with these values. So for example, you can have this statement that you need to create a dictionary where the values are sort of like values double the key, right? Things like that. So there you will have to use a for loop, right? And then you will iterate over the keys. So you can imagine how many statements will it take. So you will write a for statement, right? And then you will put colon, and then you will write two other statements, right? So these type of situations, you can just use this dictionary comprehension. You can write the value, you can write key value, and then you can decide for the for loop, right? And the range also. So that's how you work with dictionary comprehension. Now I'm going to give you a very simple example first. So let's say we have two lists, okay? So I have this list 1, and it contains 1 2 3, and then I also have a list, second list, and this list has names of the subjects, right? Now if we use this thing, so first we have key and value, okay? You obviously need to use a variable here. So you need a variable for key and you need a variable for value. So let's say we now two examples that I will give you 3 examples. First two will be error sum, just to make you, I just want you to notice the problem with these statements, so that you will not do the same, right? So we need key and value. So let's say we have A and B. So key and value, two variables. Then for V in range. So I'm going to use a for loop, for. Now this V that we are talking about, for V in range, V here is always this V that we are talking about. This V is the key, okay? Whenever you are working with a dictionary, usually even in for loop you mostly make use of key, right? So this is going to be key, so I'm gonna write A here obviously because A is the key, and then we need to decide the range, okay? Now thing is, I have two lists here, list 1 and list 2. first list is 1, 2, 3 and second list is English, Math, Hindi. So we don't really know which list is group of keys and which list is group of values, right? So we can actually do whatever we want. So I can have list 1 as keys or I can have list 2 as keys. So for this example, I'm gonna have list 1 as keys. So 1, 2, 3 is going to be keys, right? And since I'm writing for A in, right, A is used for keys, I told you, right? So A will be picked from list 1. So I'm gonna write list 1 here. Okay. Now when I try to run this thing, now everything is fine. So A's value will be picked from list 1. But what about B? So it says that name B is not defined, right? Because this is key, this is value, and B will be picked from list 2, right? But we haven't specified anything regarding that. So you will see an error. Now we can try to change this statement, right? I'm giving you this example so that you will know how to read the error, how to rectify the error. Okay, so what we can do is, since value of B is a variable and we don't know what to do with it, and I know that we know that values will be picked from list 2. So instead of giving B, I can just give list 2, right? What do you think is gonna happen? Okay, let's run it. Okay, there is no error, but what about the result? So if I try to print dictionary D, it says now it's working well for the value of A, right? So for A in list 1, so for the first iteration, it's picking the value, picking the key from list 1, that is 1. So 1 will be the key. But what about value? So for value, it's getting whole list 2. So English, Math, Hindi for the second loop, right? It is picking 2 from list 1, and for the value again the whole list 2, and for the third key also, right? So what do we want? We don't want this, right? So what do we want? That we want to create a mapping between these two lists. First of all, we want that 1 should be the key for value English, 2 should be the key for value Math, and 3 should be the key for value Hindi, right? We don't want that 1 should be the key for this whole list and then 2 should be the key for again this whole list. We don't want that. So we want a mapping between these two lists, right? How can we create a mapping? Using zip function, right? We already did that in the last video lecture. So we can use zip here, and if I use zip, I can actually use A and B because A is for keys, B is for values, and every time, and we talked about this also in the last video lecture, when you are working with one value, you are taking only one variable, right? So we are trying to pick only one value from list 1, right? So we are taking only one variable for A. Now what we can do is, since we want a key value pair, right? And we are also mapping 1 with English, 2 with Math. So we are creating a mapping between list 1 and list 2, right? And once the mapping has been created, we can easily fetch the pair. What is the meaning of mapping? When list 1 is mapped with list 2, 1 will be the match for English, right? So 1 is mapped to English, 2 is mapped to Math. So a pair will be created, right? So instead of fetching just one value, we can fetch the whole pair, right? So for that, instead of having one variable, we can have two variables here. So we're gonna have for A comma B, you can have any variable, right? So I'm taking specifically A comma B to make it the simplest illustration, right? Because AB is the key value pair, so you will not get confused. So for A comma B, in range. Now we have to decide the range. So what is going to be the range? Is it going to be list 1 or is it going to be list 2? Well, it's going to be both the lists, but after their mapping. And how do we do that? We can zip them, right? So if I try to run this now, you will see that 1 is mapped to English, 2 to math, and 3 to Hindi. So this is how you use dictionary comprehension, and this is also how you can use zip method, right? And here, like because we are mapping both values for every single loop. So for the first loop, for AB in this range, for the first loop, first pair will be picked, that is 1 and English. For the second loop, second pair will be picked, and for the third loop, third pair will be picked. If you do not understand this zipping, how we are zipping these two lists, please go back and check the video, the last video lecture. I will also put not in the description, but yes, I will create a iCard or an end screen for zip. Now also you can go back and check that video. So I hope dictionary comprehension is clear. If you have any doubt, please feel free to ask again. I'll see you in the next video lecture. Till then, take care.